Welcome to Things About Stuff with Tim. We're doing this podcast for the good of humanity, to add to the body of human knowledge for the betterment of human soul.
We hope you enjoy this educational experience as you journey with us through space, time, and the human brain itself.
The thing about stuff is, the more stuff you know, the more you know about things!
And when you know stuff, you also know things!
Enormous.
And pretty hot.
The mysteries of the uterus.
In my expert opinion, cheese is the pinnacle of humankind.
Soccer starts with S. Satan starts with S. Soccer is of the devil.
Let's dive in and find out. It's true. Episode H. Zones.
What are zones, Tim?
I don't know, Peter. That's what we're going to try to explore and possibly find out in this episode.
Today's word is zone. Go fucking figure.
Zone. Zone. Zone.
Zones are parts of space in time, and the human brain measured in conical units known as cone zones. One zone is exactly one cone, and one cone zone is equal to 2 cones in one zone.
Some zones are small, some zones are big. Who knows? Some zones might even contain a pig. I think Mozart said that.
Mozart's dead.
Anyway, what exactly is a zone?
Well, you see, Tim, when I was a kid, I used to think about zones a lot. I used to think in them in little measurements of area, when in reality, you can't just apply, just regular area. You have to go surface area, index area, surface circumference, index is, it's a little bit of computer science, it's a little bit of physics, it's a little bit of chemistry involved in calculating exactly what a zone is. But scientists do believe there are approximately, I think, about 14 zones, if I last recall.
Are you sure it's not 15?
14.
I thought it was 15.
No.
I'm reading the card. It says 15. Is that typos?
No.
I think it's 15
It's
zones.
not. It's not.
Peter,
no.
Peter, I think it's 15
it's not,
zones,
no,
Peter.
No, I swear
it's got to be 15
it's
zones.
It's 14 zones. It's 14 zones. There are 14 zones.
Well, you used the word circular a lot. I think if you were to apply the terminology of zones to circular, you might come up with a word like circular. I think it might change something that's usually like a square footage type thing into a cubic region with a z-axis.
Well, you see, zones are cubic when you really think about it. I mean, what are they? They're conical. What are cones? Cones are solids. What's a solid movie? Obviously, Coneheads by the cast of Saturday Night Live. Therefore, zone theory is perfect and can't be challenged.
That is a good movie, and it became it became a standard by which all other subsequent movies ever since have been made. And that's a science fact.
People forget, before, the monumental Coneheads, the movie industry was dying. There were boring movies coming out all the times, but then when, the subject of cones were brought to the public, it made people's lives just a little bit better. Actually, a whole world better. Look at what we have today, There's no war going on. We have an actor as president. We have everything we could ever need. The EPA's getting its ass shut down because of their anti-zone propaganda. And, we're just in a really good place right now in terms of, the effect of cones and zones. So, this whole conical movement of zones is really going to put us in a really good place, So
I think say that we're in the fun zone.
It's true, we're in the fun zone. Imagine, say, society is a ball pit, but instead of balls, it's all cones, all plastic colored cones, of which the children of civilization are playing within.
Zones, not cones.
They're in the cone zone, and zones are cones.
But zones, not cones.
But 1 millicone is approximately one zone.
We're talking about zones, not millicones.
We're talking about what zones are measured in.
Fine.
All right. So 14 zones. What are in those 14 zones?
Well, in the 15 zones, you have a lot of different things, Peter. You have many zones like we talked about. There's the ozone, for example, war zones, time zones, the erogenous zone, the twilight zone, the danger zone. The list goes on and on. But what we want to talk about tonight is how many zones are there? Peter thinks 15.
14.
We're going to set out to find that
14.
out in this podcast.
It's 14. It's 14.
What exactly is a zone? I'm going to go out here and say, just speculatively, we know there's 15 zones for sure. I'm going to say there might be as many as 17 zones, Peter. What would you think would be the maximum absolute value of the number of zones in the world?
I think I think there are 14 zones. If you don't believe me, Stephen Hawking, his dying words, where there are 14 zones. Neil deGrasse Tyson, went on Twitter and said there were 15, but upon further calculation, realized, there are 14. They used to think there were 15 zones until they realized that one of those zones was actually just a miscalculation when they shot radiation out into space and it came out, bounced back. It was actually picked up. They miscalculated. It was a millizone. 1 millicone actually. Which is not a full zone. That's not a zone cone. So therefore, 14 zones. You could argue there are 14 and a 10th
You
zones.
could argue it. Like, you're going to appeal to authority. I'll say, John Madden on Monday Night Football, back when I was a young lad, talked a lot about this
70s.
end zone here. This end zone. So, couldn't that be another zone? So, couldn't that be 15?
No. I think you're thinking about the ghost zone.
All right, we're going to go to a break here. We're going to go to a break here. Hello, we're back here on Things About Stuff and the episode about zones. During the break, we realized that I made an error. It was in fact 14 on the card.
Eat shit.
I was mistaken. I think I was looking at the card upside down or something, but it definitely says 14.
Yes.
And the reason is Peter discovered the reason during that caused our brotherly strife here.
Well, you see, Tim, I can explain it much better than you because I know what I'm talking about. You see, you're thinking of the ghost zone, but you can't count it the ghost zone because, we can't send radiation at it to bounce back because it's intangible. So therefore, we're not even sure if the ghost zone is actually, if it exists or if it's just an illusion. So, scientifically, in concept, perhaps there are 15 zones, but from what we can prove, all we can prove is that there are just exactly 14 zones right now.
And I'm a pretty humble guy, and I'm willing to eat my humble shit pie when I'm wrong and then admit it. And furthermore, to add to what you said, Peter, I don't know ghost numbers, so I couldn't even begin to quantify the ghost zone if I tried.
They have one more number than us. It's called 12,000, and it's out of our lexicographical.
Can't comprehend ghost numbers like that. You
comprehend.
just can't. It's beyond It's beyond the astral plane of humanity.
It's beyond the processing power of an Intel core, a dual core Intel i7 processor. Just can't calculate a number like 12,000
in the bag of tiddlywinks.
All of that, yeah. So
well, we're gonna move on here. We're trying to remember our whole theme for tonight is zones. Specifically, the question, our hypothesis is, how many zones are there? So I've gone ahead and I got on Yahoo Answers here, and
reliable source.
It's a very good way to reach out to people who know things about stuff.
I use it for my homework.
And you have PhDs on there checking these questions and answering. It's a very reliable and free source.
Academics, real scientists, heroes on the
website. I've gone ahead and asked Yahoo Answers about zones. So during the break, I went ahead and posted on Yahoo Answers. I asked how many zones there are. Actually, it looks like the exact thing I typed was how many zones. So I hope that's not confusing. So we're just kind of waiting here for answers to roll in right after I posted that. So
we've got one. Well, not one zone, but we've got an answer.
Well, you want to read the first answer there, Peter?
The complete moron, imbecile, said 4. That's incorrect. Where are you? Do you live under a rock or something?
Hey, calm down. It's okay. There's a lot of trolls out there. Just say 4 is just utterly moronic. So
we got another.
It just dinged.
This complete imbecile said, what type of zones? There are 37 time zones, not 24. Question unanswerable because of insufficient information.
Okay, so you can condense all the 37 time zones into one time zone, and then you get 14,
That's
15.
the time zone. They don't know what the time zone is. That's literally what surrounds our planet and protects it from
Yeah,
asteroids
and all
alien
the
invaders.
separate time zones are just arbitrary machinations of mankind to understand it and break it down.
Why do you think our
like a pie chart?
Why do you think our planet is so young compared to the universe? Because we have a time zone around it, protecting it from the high-speed time of what's surrounding it. Duh,
Exactly.
you idiot, moron.
The dinosaurs tried to leave the time zone, and you see what happened to them.
Yeah, they
so.
got killed by meteors because the time zone.
Oh, hey, we have
enacted
another
brakes on them.
answer that dinged here. At least 2 sense zones is plural. That's a very, very valid insight there. There would be at least 2 since the word zones is plural. It implies more than one, right? The
Yeah,
plurality
it
there.
does. Yeah, you know,
Might
a
not
lot
imply like 72, but definitely, as many as 15.
Yeah, a lot of
right?
people think Amelia Earhart, just died in at a crash, but in reality, she just happened to go upon the triangle zone, which a lot of people call the Bermuda Triangle, and
I call it the Bermuda
It
Triangle
turned
zone.
her into a polygon, and being a two-dimensional object, she couldn't move around in 3D space, and we couldn't see her the right way. So
Until they
yeah,
invented the
it's-
N64, but unfortunately, she's trapped in that game playing device.
She was too
forever.
old. She was too old. She was trapped in the wrong time zone.
Is that what
unfortunately,
happened
but-
to her? I don't really read too much about that kind of stuff.
I mean-
but so somebody here's another answer. It says it's your turn to read, Peter.
Okay, let me get on my reading bifocals here. It says at least 2
I just read that
since
one.
zones
Next
is
one.
plural. I mean,
I just read that.
technically
I
not.
just read that one. Next one.
You said okay. It's this one's by Starsy Sky. He says to postal time, city, or administration zones. Good answer. Those are all 3.
That's a question.
Those are
so
subzones.
that doesn't
Those
really
are
answer
subzones.
our question.
It's true. It's true.
Somebody said depends.
Depends. That is not a zone. I'm
depends
sorry.
on what? Depends on what?
We depend on zones.
Everything depends on the zonality of the
Zonality.
universe.
It's true. It's
So
true.
what the heck is that person talking? Okay, I'm gonna go back here. I think maybe my question wasn't quite clear enough. I'm gonna see.
All right. Oh no, I got a good one. All right. So we got another answer here. Somebody said 7. You're half right. Literally half right. That half the zones. He's on the right track. Someone said 867 5309. That's not right.
irrelevant
It's
and
not.
a
That's
huge,
irrelevant.
Huge number. What is the dash there
Well,
for? I don't get it.
Don't some moron, some troll.
So I'm gonna
probably.
type in. Peter, you talk
Let's
for
go
a
into
second.
let's go into the
about
PhD
something.
corner.
I'm gonna type that question maybe in a more understandable way.
All right, well, keeping
And
in
then-
line with the zones, bus zones are subzones. They're subzones. They're not millizones. They're more along the lines of separate pockets of dimensions, of time. These subzones. Like a bus zone would be one of them. You keep it in a specific place, but it's not exactly a part of a millizone. I guess you could call a millizone a subzone, but bus zone would count as a millizone, but that's a part of a larger zone.
Then you
like
kind of get into
the walkable-
semantics because millizone, subzone, all those have the word zone, right?
Oh, you know what? Here we go. The erogenous zone, war zones.
This is an answer, by the way. I rephrased the question to how many zones are there instead of just simply how many zones.
That's true. They said war zones. The ozone. We have a scientist here, people. We have someone who knows science like we do. So war zones, ozone, goal zones. We forgot about the goal zone, but that's a zone.
I guess the end zone would fit into those that John
Yeah.
Madden was talking about, right? All those years ago.
The end zone's a
God
subzone
rest his soul.
of the game zone. God rest his soul. God rest his soul. Go on. Okay. School zones. Again, another subzone. Speed zones, also a subzone, like the bus zone. No-go zones. Those are zones you don't go because
They don't. Now there are those zones that don't go. Do you not go when you're in those zones?
No,
or
no,
those
no, no,
zones
no.
that go there.
Those are the
no
ones
go
you know-
there.
those are
You
the
should
no-go
avoid.
zones.
Those would be zones that one would avoid.
Those are what you avoid. You don't go in there because no trouble can be not found in those no-go zones. That's why, hence, you no-go.
You go there.
You no-go there. Tropic zones, temperature and Arctic zones. They have that right.
Public transport.
The
zones.
zillion million zone, improperly named because there are only 14 zones, but it's called the zillion million zone because that's where high numbers exist.
Well, this guy,
The zillion
I
million
think
zone?
this is mind-boggling here. This guy here, Peter, we are assuming under the conventional wisdom of our time, epoch, and era, and all the forefathers and foremothers who fought and died in the name of
zones,
just discovering zones and things about zones. This man here says we're assuming we're laboring under the presupposition that there are in fact 14 zones and no more, no fewer. This man here says, after naming all those zones, this is an approximation. I would say a few million zones exist worldwide.
It's true. Zone, I mean, subzones. If he said sub, you have this answer correct. But unfortunately, he's failed our test. But
mind blown moment here. There could be millions of zones.
It's true.
Worldwide.
The man who discovered zones, the brilliant, brings smiles to
Was
my
it
name.
Zonicus?
No. You're thinking of the man who conceptualized zones, but the true man who discovered zones, Harvey Einstein. Unfortunately named, but for the time, but Harvey Einstein was a true American hero. He was the first one. Through looking through the legs of various women, he realized that conical shape. It aligned with something in the universe, and then he thought, if I bounce, an imaginary particle from, the middle of my torso, right, where my soul is located, my torso in the belly button. If an imaginary soul particle was to bounce off of that into the universe, it would bounce back at an angle like that of a cone.
Well, the microverse often reflects and projects the macroverse and the multiverse, and that's a science fact. Like you talk about quantum non-locality, and that's the principle that what's on the microscopic level echoes and is exactly like what's on the bigger level, and that's why stuff works, folks.
It's true.
So that makes sense to me that he would find something like that having a greater meaning, greater applicability, and greater circumference, and the circles that he discovered, the circular shapes that encompass our universe.
Another very important figure in all this is Celery Clinton. Celery Clinton, not to be confused with Hillary Clinton, the
war criminal,
the future president of the United States, 2 years ago. Not to be confused with her, but they are of the same bloodline, to her misfortune. But, Celery Clinton, she was the first one who postulated the fact that, the cone might have, several thetas, theta being the angle, of which, many soul particles could bounce from the torso, onto the particle and back at, the man himself, Harvey Einstein. He postulated these theorems, but she was like, what if there are several angles at which this could bounce back at, Harvey Einstein, obviously, he postulated this, this theorem, and, that's all good and whatnot, but, Celery Clinton is really the one who drove it home and really just grounded it in reality, because
she really hit a home run there.
All Harvey Einstein did was, postulate a thought experiment, which, isn't exactly the best way to prove your results. But Celery Clinton actually, was a, she had an undergrad in physics, she was paying, she was a self-taught rocket scientist.
Back in the dark ages, no less.
Yeah, she actually
back in the ages where the Chinese were sending trash cans into space using fireworks.
Very true, very true. She, ate a lot of sodium one night, and she went to the store and bought up a bunch of air ducts and assembled them together into a makeshift rocket, blasted off into space, and was able to, capture the conical nature of, the magnetic field surrounding the Earth. And, if it wasn't for, Celery Clinton, we wouldn't know all this stuff. We wouldn't know all this grand, amazing
she's
zone
one of the heroes of the cause of knowledge and human wisdom and science, because she went to her death for this stuff.
She did.
She was
crashed
burned at the stake. She survived that crash, but they burned her at the stake for being a woman who challenged the status quo of scientific viewpoint. And the zeitgeist of her time crushed her, but they didn't crush her spirit or her mind and her discoveries, because she got on her private email server and sent that information out into the world, and she didn't care.
Yeah, it's true. She's, up there in heaven with the likes of, Melvin Spacey, another great scientist, who discovered that the rate at which boys age, he discovered puberty,
But that's not what we're talking about tonight. Tonight we're shaping.
Another thing, puberty. It works in a conical fashion,
All right, but we're kind of straying from the topic here about how many zones there are. We're trying to delve into the nature and design of zones here. Here's another answer. We got several answers we'll discuss here. So somebody asked me another question as an answer to my Yahoo question on Yahoo Answers. They said time zones, or erogenous zones, or male zones, zip codes, ... Smart Alec. They're 37 time zones, not 24. Okay, great grammar, genius. Some time zones are offset by 1.2 an hour or 15 or 45 minutes. It's awfully hard to answer such vague question when you're not specific about what kind of zones you're talking about. No one can read your mind. All right. Okay. Well, he obviously doesn't know what he's talking about.
If he was a little smarter, he would have figured out exactly what we're thinking.
Okay, look at this. Do you mean time zone? There are 24.
Let me say one thing about that damn asshole Tim. That fucking moron. I'm sorry. That freaking moron of an imbecile. That troglodyte, just pure neo-Nazi. Cut that.
Let's keep it PG, PCG here.
Sorry.
We don't know if this is going to be broadcast on Disney or not.
It's true.
So we want to keep it family.
If that man knew enough,
inherent here.
If that man knew enough about zones, he'd know the telepathy zone. So that he would, go into the telepathy zone, so he could read the mind of you who wrote this post, that he could know what type of zones we mean. But also, zones are so prevalent in modern day society. How do you not know what we're talking about? Honestly, complete fool. All right. I digress.
Person says the friend zone. That's a zone we haven't talked about yet tonight.
I've never been in it before, but I've heard that it's a very ruthless zone. That I've heard some people question its existence. So I think it's one of those theoretical zones.
I would disagree.
We're not sure if that's true.
It's not horrible. I've been in the friend zone. I have lots of friends, so I'd like to think I've been friend zoned a lot.
You're talking about
very much. And we have fun. We hang out. We're all bros, so.
You're thinking.
I'm sorry you don't have any friends.
No. You're thinking about the Bud HUD. That's where it's like the buddy huddle, pretty much, where you go.
The buddy HUD.
It's different. That's in the greeting zone. Not the greeting. That's in the good tidings zone. The friend zone is something. It's a theory right now. We're not sure if it exists. Mainly, a lot of people who say they've been in the friend zones are fat nerds with neck beards who live in a basement and play video games and stuff who say that they've traveled to the zone, but there's no real hard evidence towards it other than what they have in their DMs.
I see.
So we're not sure about the reality of this zone here. So
I gotcha. Okay. This person said the Twilight Zone. That's another one. That was a good TV show. Mind bending episodes and unexpected ironies in that show.
Yeah, I think it bent your mind to think there were 15 zones.
The original Albert Hitchcock, famous director there, and inventor of toaster strudel. Oh, so bless you.
Thank you.
Allergy season right around, cold and flu and allergy season right around the corner here.
Sir.
Spring coming up.
Absolutely.
But good show there. The demilitarized zone, the end zone. Hey, there's that end zone I talk about.
That's true. You're right.
This poor putrid little devil here, little Dickens said, just the end zone and Twilight Zone, as far as I know.
What a gross speck of a human being. Is he even human?
Not everybody's smart enough to understand zones.
What's his name? Daniel? If you name your kid Daniel, you're just setting him up for failure, honestly.
Well, that's neither here nor there nor anywhere. That's an opinion. That's in the opinion zone, okay?
No, it's fact. Anybody who questions zone theory must be hanged at the stake.
At this point, we're going to go for another break, and then after the break, we're going to have our very special guest here, and we'll introduce you to this person after these messages.
Welcome back.
We're back from the break, and we're about to go on a live telephone call here on the show with our very good friend and resident expert on zones, Dr. Nick Calculus.
Nick Calculus, yes. Very good friend of mine. Known him since the 4th grade. And, we've been good friends for
He's a very knowledgeable man. Has his PhD in zonometrics.
Yes, he does. He does zonometrics. And he's working for charity for the Friend Foundation. So,
you can say he's friend zoned. In a good way.
In a good way.
Let's go ahead and give him a call.
All right, let's give this guy a call.
Hey man, what's up?
Hey,
Mr. Nick, Dr. Nick.
Yeah, Dr. Nick Calculus. We're calling you here about zones. What do you think?
You're live on Things
you're
About
live.
Stuff podcast with Tim and Peter.
You're right. Things About Stuff podcast. We called, our resident expert, obviously you, Dr. Nick Calculus, to, talk to us about the conical nature of zones.
And we're specifically looking for an answer to the question tonight about what is a zone for our listeners and how many zones are there.
Yeah, can you just give them a general idea about like the number of zones and what a zone is and how they work, pretty much?
Well, I think zones are great things to have, great things for your household. I wouldn't keep them on the streets though, as they're bringing crime. But I think zones are always good. You can never have too many zones, and that's all I really gotta say for it. I'm all in support of zones.
You're somebody. We are too. We love zones. I mean, obviously, we're making a whole podcast episode about them. But what would you say is your favorite zone?
All of them. I can't say there isn't a favorite zone, except for that one zone, and I feel like you know what I'm talking about. Aside from that,
the no-go
I love
zone?
all the zones.
Is it the inflammatory penile zone?
No. He's talking about the no-go zone. That
Of
one
course,
understand,
yes.
but the no-go zone, you don't go in that zone.
The
It's
no-go zone that you don't go into is no-go. Don't go?
What about the fro zone? What's your opinion on the fro zone?
Not as good as the bro zone.
He's right. The bro zone, sub-zone of the good relation zone.
My personal opinion on the fro zone is it's not as good as the Samuel L. Jackson zone. What do you think?
Of course, I think so.
All right,
I like them.
Speaking in the spirit of zonology here, what is your expert opinion on the cowl zone?
The Cal zone. A good zone. Very, very, very zony, I'd say.
Zony, good adjective, good
Zamboni.
vocabulary. Can you give us, if we wanted to say calculate, the circumference of a zone here at home, given that they're of a conical shape, what would exactly be, the correct formula for people who want to replicate this at home, or perhaps make a zone of their own, which is illegal, but freedom of speech, Second Amendment, obviously. So, what is the correct formula for that? Just give them some insight at home.
I think it's more of a personal thing. You gotta find your own zone. You gotta zone in on your zone. All right. Know your zones. Never forget your zones.
Know your zones.
Know your zones.
That's good. That's sound advice. So, if you had to tell us the textbook or scientific definition as somebody who's an expert and has written, research about this subject, what would you say is the definition of a zone, just for our listeners at home here?
Well, it's a good question. I believe that zones are, in theory, zones, and should be treated as such.
We would definitely not disagree with that.
That's true. That's true.
Would you agree with this statement though? Just tell me to agree or disagree. Zones are the future.
I believe so. I believe that zones are entirely the future. The children of America and Bolivia each should know about their zones. All of them. Because it is never not important to know your zones.
That's true, and I think you are on a member of the Council of Boards in favor of adding zone teaching to local and state curriculum.
Can I just ask? Can I ask you a personal question? Just for the people here at home. How important is your heritage? Your lineage. Your link to both. Sir Isaac Newton, G.G. Allen, and various others like Kaiser Wilhelm and all those guys. How important has it been for people like them in your life? Especially like your great grandpappy Vladimir Lenin on your side of the family. How important has that lineage been in your pursuitment, if you will, of zonology and zonulation theory and all of that?
Well, I believe that each of them, as time progressed, we began to learn more and more about our zones. And each of them in their own way have discovered more and more about each of their own personal zones. And it's important to know about their zones and everything. And I was blessed to know that I have now reached this point to where I know my zone, and like I have my own personal zones for everything. And I believe that as time will continue, the following generations that I will produce shall know more about zones than I will ever come to know, and I'm very happy to know about that.
Yes,
Mom,
yes.
they didn't believe me. You laughed at me when I didn't believe in zones, but here I am. Look at me now.
Those MFers who were faithless generation here.
Faithless. May your
Didn't
seed
believe in zones.
May your seed be
The
shed
spineless
upon
fools.
the face of every American and Bolivian out there.
Well-
And can we just ask you one final question?
Well,
course.
maybe more.
All right, Dr. Nicholas J. Calculus. How many zones would you say there are? There's a finite answer. There's a finite number of zones.
You're a guy who knows scientists, Dr. Calculus, and you work and converse with scientists on a daily basis. Your scientific,
Scientists indeed.
your PhD paper, culminating paper called My Zone, Your Zone, Her Zone, Zone, which you later developed into a self-help book, has just helped open up the minds and lives and hearts of millions of individuals. How many zones are there? What are the scientists saying?
What's the finite
What's
answer?
the data say?
I believe the answer lies within your own zone. And you got to look real deep into that zone and you got to have a personal connection to that.
But
You would say. So, am I hearing you say the answer is 1?
I mean, there's got to be at least 5. Something like that.
At least 5.
At least 5.
That's your
At the
expert
very-
opinion.
At-
That's
at-
your expert
at least
opinion.
5.
We're gonna call. I mean, what? Are you serious?
I mean, it's a stretch, but
You're talking about Stretch Armstrong
whoa.
situation here.
What would you say the maximum number of zones would be? Because it's not infinite, and it's not a number higher than 20. I'll tell you that.
you got to look inside yourself. Look in your zone.
No.
Is
Give
that
me
a funny
an
way of
answer.
saying
Give me a
I don't
number.
know?
Give me a number.
Do you
Give me a
even
number.
know?
Calculus
Do you even know?
man. Do you even have a doctorate? Where'd you go? Dartford?
Dartmouth or something?
How dare you associate that into my
No, I don't
How
like.
dare
No,
us?
I don't
How
like
dare
you.
us?
I don't like you putting your anti-zone propaganda. You're
Zone.
trying to make people.
We're gonna call you
lesser zone.
You're gonna call
theorist.
in here
You're gonna-
on our
you're
show
gonna-
and say that the answer lies in yourself.
Yeah, how dare you? How dare you
You're
call
a scientist.
us? Call
I mean,
us
what
on
are
our
they trying
show?
to hide from us? Who are you? Who do you think you are?
If you are a real scientist, you know there are 14 zones.
Dude.
And 14 only. It's a
Dude,
finite
come on,
number. There are
come
14
on.
zones.
Dr. Calculus, Dr.
you know-
C, what are you thinking?
Yeah, come on.
What have they done to you in that academy?
There are 4 theoretical zones.
The truth
but
is out there,
one of them's
man.
the ghost zone, and the ghost zone doesn't exist because we can't detect it because it's intangible.
We're almost out of time. Dr. Calculus, thank you so much for talking to us
Thank you
tonight.
so much. Thank you so much. Such a
It's always a
inspiration. Such a pleasure.
We really appreciate you taking the time
we
out
really
of
do.
and
We really
agreeing
do.
to be on our show
Really do.
beforehand.
So much
taking
thanks.
the
So
call.
much thanks.
What a pleasure. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much.
Yeah. Get off my show.
Bye-bye. Wow, what a quack. Oh my
What
goodness.
a freak, dude.
What the
Like,
rigors of academia do to your brain. It's like his circuits are all fried up there.
he must.
It's like we need
he's
to send him
old.
to
He's
the,
old.
to the used computer zone or
Yeah,
something.
we gotta do what they do in the Giver and cut them off when they're old. You know.
Oh well, we tried. So far, you know, we've learned a lot. I'm sure if you're tuning in, if it's the first time you've ever heard of zones tonight, this is a very good introduction. If you're inquiring and if you're a zone junkie like Peter and myself here, you're inquiring to the nature of the universe and its particularities and mysteries.
Yeah.
Then you're probably listening intently, trying to find out some things we never knew about zones before.
It's true.
And I'm sorry that we haven't really made much progress, but we've recapped everything we know, and we know there's more than 15, and we've kind of nailed down the definition a little bit of what a zone is.
You know, we know less about zones than we know about the ocean. True fact.
It's
we
true.
know more about the moon than we
It's
know
true.
about what is in, the average day milk, which is, obviously, calculated in units of zones, flaws and all that. That's what they are. So,
It's true.
yeah, it's true. So,
Well, we're going to go for our last little break here, and when we return, we're actually going to try to enter a zone. One of us, I think myself, while Peter documents experience, we're going to try to step into a brand new zone where no man has ever boldly gone or not gone before.
the no-go zone. No one has ever entered the no-go zone and made
no-go
it out.
zone.
But I have, a rusty old, pulley that I have. It's very reliable. When it's got rust on it, and it's all. What they say? Don't trust if it ain't got rust. Pretty much. So the rust means it's reliable. It's been around for a long time, and it's gonna work every single time.
Honored and proven tradition.
I'm gonna tie it around his waist. It's a very thin wire. It's used.
Make haste, not
for
waste.
fishing, but
Benjamin Button Franklin said that.
Very true. He did. And
okay,
we're gonna pull him
after
we're
these
gonna yank him
messages
through,
from our sponsors.
Yes.
All 20 or so of them.
There are only 14 sponsors.
Hey folks, we're back here. You're back listening to
The Zone.
Things and Stuff.
Things and Stuff. The Zone
Tim,
podcast version of the
Tim,
day. Episode H.
Episode H, zones. We're about to call up a zone here. Peter has used his technological marvels to try to open up a portal to a zone here.
You know how I find. I took all the money. that my son, good old Charlie J. Oppenheimer Smith Jr. the third.
I call him Pooter,
aka Fuzz.
Peter and his
my son
Pooter.
Fuzz. My son Fuzz won a lot of prize money from winning the Special Olympics. So
Pooter Fuzz.
we took that from his college fund and we put it towards something really nice,
something more
which
important,
is something more important, opening zones.
To mankind
so
here.
Tim and I, we're practiced, seasoned scientists. We do this kind of shit all the time. I mean, stuff all the time. This kind of science all the time. We like to push the boundaries of the scientific community, and we're not gonna document this, in the traditional sense. We're gonna push the boundaries of life even further by, doing a non-traditional documentation of this. And so you people at home are gonna witness with your own eyes, Tim becoming the first man to step foot in the no-go zone and return to Earth zone.
We spared you all the electrical sounds and lightning bolts and crackles of static electricity when Peter took on his zoninator.
My legs are really, really tired from how fast I had to run to open up that portal. But
yeah, he ran. It's just like it's a whole contraption. It's really amazing. It's a spectacle. It is what it is.
Yeah,
a marvel of modern medicine and zoneology tech. But it's opened up a small. Roughly my height and
small,
arm span.
Phallus-shaped hole.
It's a phallus-shaped hole. It's purple and it has like dark purple kind of mist floating out of it. And it's all staticky on the inside. And we are pretty certain within the
we went to our local fire station and we borrowed. They weren't there, so we borrowed and left a note and some change on the table. Their Jaws of Life from one of the what do you call it? On call, fire trucks. Is trucks the term? Trucks. They don't look like trucks, but they're trucks. We took the Jaws of Life. We're gonna expand this hole, using the Jaws of Life, and then Tim's gonna step through it. And
yes, I'm about to step through where we're within a certain degree of relative certainty. We're pretty positive we've called up a portal to.
I didn't use a calculator.
No-go zone.
I didn't use a calculator for this.
No one's ever gone.
I'm fairly
before.
certain I'm right.
No man has ever gone, and ladies and gentlemen, you're hearing it for the first time ever in the history of mankind or the United States tonight. One man, myself, Tim, is about to step through into the no-go zone. Here, farewell, dear brother. Here I go. 1, 2, 3. Oh my goodness! Wow, it's beautiful. Whoa!
What's it look
colors. Like? I feel like I'm just inebriated, but like wonderful at the same time. It's like I'm in a dream. Oh my God! Oh my God! What's happening? I see dark figures. Oh, they got claws.
Tim, are you?
Come
back! No, Tim! No, Tim! What's going on? Holy crap! Holy crap! I'm pulling. The line broke. The portal's closing. The portal. Hold on a minute. Hold it. If this is right, if my calculations are right, I've analyzed the conical nature of this portal, and I'm gonna open it back up, and I've done it. Okay. I'm going in this. I'm in the zone. I'm in the no-go zone. I see rabbits, white rabbits with red eyes, and they're sucking out his soul. Okay. Get out of here, you damn stupid birds, stupid rabbits. Doers, get out of here. Alright. I think they're gone, alright. Oh, Tim. I found he's not alive. He's not breathing. Gonna have to do CPR. I don't know how to do CPR, but I'm just gonna hope he's okay. Alright, I'm dragging his dead corpse across the dimension. And he's alright. Oh, alright, we're back. Alright. Oh, the dimension just collapsed. The portal. Oh, man. Okay, well. Alright, well, Tim's dead. I have to go bury his body so that the police don't catch me for murder that I didn't commit. And, well, I'll see you guys on the next podcast. I gotta find a new co-host now. You win some, you lose some. Alright, until next time. Bye.